Now that we've talked about how to get referrals, we could talk about how to write a reach out message. And here, I'm going to give you some examples and kind of high level templates of things that could work for you in different situations based on kind of the scenarios that we've talked about. We have a separate workshop that is way, way, way more in depth on how to do reach out for specific roles or companies. And you're more than welcome to attend that. And again, the way that our advanced workshops work is you need to first finish and graduate this one. And then anybody who attends this will get invited to the next one whenever we put it on. You cannot sign up for advanced workshops without having done the one-on-one class first. So let's talk about writing a reach out message. Here's an example of a reach out message to a first degree connection that you have. So this one says, "Hi Matt, I noticed you're at Blend now. Do you have time to catch up? I'm interested in working there and wanted to ask about your experience." This is an appropriate message to someone who you know relatively well and you've crossed paths with. And something simple like this is absolutely sufficient. You can ask for a referral directly if you know the person extremely well, like you work together in the same team or you're friends. But if you know the person a little bit less, then it's more appropriate to ask for a catch up and just be specific on how long you need. Make it 15 minutes, 20 minutes, something very low commitment. But be clear that you're reaching out because you're interested in the company. A lot of times what will happen is the person will either take you up on kind of like a virtual coffee date offer, or the other option, which is the better option for you, is they'll say, "Hey, super busy, can't right now, but if you're interested, happy to refer you, let me know." This is a response that folks get really, really often. So this is a great reach out message for, again, folks that you know kind of well, but you're not very close to. I would also recommend that whenever you can, you do this by email and not LinkedIn message. Email is much more impactful in a situation like this, but if you don't have the person's email, then LinkedIn is all right. If someone is a second degree connection, you have a couple of options. And one of those options is to ask a mutual connection to introduce you. And here's an example of how you might do that. "Anna, I'm applying for Stripe and I noticed you know James Smith on the infra team. That's the team I'm dying to land on. Would you mind introducing me?" So something like that is really a great start to the conversation. It's clear that you have a ton of interest for the team, that you're asking for something specific, and also an introduction takes someone 5 minutes to do. If you're able to get introduced to a second degree connection, that really boosts your chances of getting in the company. It's almost better than a referral to do an intro that way because you get a chance to speak with someone on the team. If you have a good impression on them, you kind of almost skip an interview round. So whenever possible, this is the way to go. It is a little bit more time consuming, but again, we're here for the long game, which is getting you hired and getting you a good salary. So sometimes time consuming is better than kind of sending out a quick email with a lower success rate. So if the person here gets back to you and says, "Well, you know what, I don't know this person really well. We're not close. I know we're connected on LinkedIn, but I don't remember where we met them," then of course proceed to reaching out to this person directly and say, "Hey, we have Anna in common. I'm really interested in your team. Would you be up for a 10-minute chat?" And folks will usually take you up on that fairly easily. The next example here is how to ask for a referral on some of the social channels. So remember a moment ago, we talked about Blind and Reddit and Slack. So here, what I've seen work a ton is these give-ask format posts. So you give by offering something that you could help people with for free. So for instance, happy to help anyone with mock practice for Facebook. And you ask by offering in exchange just to have someone in the community help you with a referral. And a lot of times when these give and ask are paired in the same post, people will really come up and offer referrals to the company. So this is successful very frequently. Take some time and make sure you join the right groups so that you are exposed to the right communities where this is something you can do. And again, at Candor, we have a list at which communities you want to approach for this. If you're reaching out to someone completely cold, then ideally do it by email. Especially if you don't know someone at the company, don't have anyone in common. This is the best way to go. And here's an example of a template of how you might want to apply, not for a specific role, but like for a generalist queue. So if you want to see if you're a fit for any of the open engineering roles, you can use an email like this, sort of talking about why you're interested in the company versus the specific role, and what you think your skills can contribute in terms of value add. Ideally, this should not be longer than like 4 sentences total. And something quick like that with your resume attached will usually do the trick if the company's interested. Again, this is less likely to succeed than the previous methods we talked about, but still something you can do if you find yourself at a place where you don't have anyone in common with the companies where you're trying to work. And kind of lastly, an example of how to reach out to recruiters. This is something we should be doing a ton more. Recruiters' jobs is literally to find you and place you on the teams they're recruiting for. So you should be aggressively pinging these people directly whenever you see a fit on the team that they're recruiting for. But this is the key, and I mentioned it twice. I'm not sure if you caught it. It's important that you absolutely identify that you're reaching out for the right opportunity. Because if you're trying to get on a team that this recruiter has nothing to do with, you're just gonna not be successful. Like, it's just not gonna work for you. And the reason for that is recruiters are crazy, ridiculously, stupidly busy, and they have to see sometimes hundreds of people before they make one hire. They just don't have time to route you around the company, and that hustle is really up to you. So one thing we've done at Candor that might be helpful for you is we've kind of cataloged the majority of the recruiters at big tech, and you could click in a company and sort of look through who's a recruiter for what. And kind of figure out if you're reaching out to the right person that way. And obviously, as you meet new people, we ask that you add to the list so everyone else using it can have the same success as you. But when you reach out, be specific, be succinct, and be really tight. 3 sentences, and literally that is it. Hi, Jane. I'm interested in the AR team here at Facebook. I have 8 years of experience in computer vision, most recently at Microsoft. Attaching my info below, can we schedule a 15-minute call? So what this does extremely well is you're kind of self-qualifying yourself for the team, and this has an extremely high likelihood of a callback. Here's why. We'll reverse engineer it together. So first sentence is, I'm interested in the AR team here at Facebook. It immediately tells the recruiter that you've reached out to the right person, that you've taken the time to make sure that Jane is actually the recruiter for this team. And she's like, yes, someone who knows what I do. Likelihood is they have read what roles I also recruit for, and they've self-identified as someone who could be a fit. The next sentence confirms that. It says, I have 8 years of experience in this very specific niche, most recently at X company. So the next sentence kind of reinforces that, yes, not only have you read the job description, you've compared it to your own experience, and it seems like you could be a really strong fit to contribute to the team. And then the last sentence is a very specific ask. You're asking for 15 minutes, and if you do not make an ask, then the recruiter will just move on to the next message, and that's it. So make sure that you ask for time. Make sure that you ask for a little bit of time. Not a lot, not an hour, not half an hour, not 45 minutes, 15 minutes. And it's typically sufficient for you and the recruiter to assess whether there's strong fit and for you to get into the interview process. It really is as simple as that. And I deeply encourage you to really befriend recruiters and spend time developing your recruiter professional network, because these folks are truly there to help you get placed into these opportunities. That is absolutely something they're dying to do, and that's essentially their job. The one caveat being is reach out to them in the right context. If Jane was a recruiter for the design team, then this email would kind of go nowhere. So make sure you use your resources wisely, reach out to the right people for the right role, and be realistic about your qualifications and how you fit in. This should be tactical, not aspirational. And I think at the back of your kind of mind, you guys all know what roles you're qualified for. So definitely gun for stuff where you feel you could add value. If you need a little bit more help, we have a weekly newsletter, or kind of bi-weekly at this point, that you can subscribe to. And we're planning on issuing our referral guide in our next one when it finally comes out. And it'll have a ton of templates. It'll have LinkedIn reach out roadmap and things like how to build a social brand through content. It's completely free. You could subscribe at the bottom of our website. This is what the sign up flow looks like. So feel free to jump in there anytime you'd like. And we'll send you some additional resources every couple of weeks, like how to interview at specific companies and what's going on and what the news and rumors are in tech, especially around hiring and salary negotiation. Let's move on to your personal blurb. And this is the last thing we'll cover today before we wrap up. A personal blurb is really important because it's smaller companies, and especially when you do not know the person referring you, kind of in both of those cases, you want to be in control of the narrative around your application. We spent so much time on working on your resume, your LinkedIn, your brand, all sorts of things. You don't want that to fall flat by getting a bad referral. And not a referral is great. If someone refers you and says, well, I don't know this person, and they just reached out to me, then it's just not going to look good to a hiring manager picking up your profile for review. A personal blurb really helps you, but it also helps the person who refers you. So it's kind of a favor to both of you, and you should have one ready whenever you're asking for a referral. The first thing you want to kind of think about is, what is generally your elevator pitch? Like, how do you introduce yourself to other people? And what 3, maybe 4 adjectives describe you? You can even take a moment to try that now. Like, how do you think about yourself professionally? Here, it's really important that you use things that, really show you're a well-rounded professional, and avoid things that might be considered cliche. An example, like innovative, this is something that, or innovative, I'm not sure what the right English pronunciation is. This is something that is just so ridiculously overused. Immediately someone reading it is going to roll their eyes. Try to lean on things that are very relatable and also really show how you not just are technically proficient in things, but are EQ proficient in working with teams, working with stakeholders, etc. So think of kind of 3 adjectives that could describe you as a professional. Be able to really easily talk about your professional superpower, and you can only have one. So if you could have one kind of professional superpower, what would it really be? I'm sure that most of us are good at more than one thing. In fact, most of us are proficient at a ton of things because that's kind of the era of the generalist right now, right? But when we're talking about communicating your value to someone who is going to skim a few sentences for like 10 seconds max, they're looking for the one thing to make you stand out. Help them find you. So pick a thing that you really want to lean on, take a moment to outline it, and sort of sell yourself to the person reading. And here's how it all comes together. This is an example of a blurb that you could use. Just kind of replace everything in yellow and in green with sending in for a referral request. And every time you ask for a referral, you could say, hey, I know